She was on her knees, tears streaming down her face, her voice trembling as she begged, "Please, just come back." I made a mistake. A year ago, I caught her cheating and walked away without a single word. No arguments, no explanations, just silence. And now here she was, broken, desperate, reaching out for a man who no longer existed. The man she betrayed was gone. In his place stood someone who had already moved on. She wanted forgiveness, but what she really wanted was the life she destroyed, and I wasn't going to give it back. We met in the most ordinary way through mutual friends at a small gathering, but there was nothing ordinary about how she made me feel. She had this effortless charm, a smile that could disarm even the coldest heart, and eyes that seemed to hold a universe of promises. She was magnetic, the kind of person who could walk into a room and make it feel like the world revolved around her, and to me, it did. We clicked instantly, like puzzle pieces falling into place. Conversations flowed easily, laughter came naturally, and before I knew it, she wasn't just part of my life, she was my life. We'd spend hours talking about everything and nothing, from our childhood dreams to the places we wanted to travel. It felt like fate, like the universe had written our story long before we met. Our relationship felt like a dream. We traveled together, created memories in every corner of the world, from spontaneous road trips to quiet nights under the stars. She wasn't just my wife, she was my best friend, my confidant, the person I trusted more than anyone. We shared inside jokes, whispered secrets in the dark, and built a life filled with moments that felt timeless. I thought we were unbreakable. I thought we were forever. But forever has a way of falling apart quietly. It doesn't come with alarms or warnings. It starts with the little things, missed calls, late nights at work, excuses that don't quite add up. I noticed the changes. The way her laughter felt hollow, the way her hugs grew colder, the way she'd smile at her phone and then quickly lock it when I entered the room. But I brushed it off. I told myself it was stress, work pressure, anything but what it really was. Because love makes you blind to the obvious. It convinces you to ignore the red flags, to believe in the person you love even when the evidence says otherwise. I believed in her. I believed in us. I thought our history, our memories, our vows meant something. Looking back now, I realize I wasn't holding on to her, was holding on to the idea of her, to the woman I thought she was, not the woman she had become. And that's the hardest part, not losing the person, but losing the illusion you built around them. It was a Tuesday. Funny how betrayal doesn't choose special days, it slips into the ordinary ones, the ones you least expect. She said she had to work late again. I nodded, pretending I didn't notice how her voice lacked warmth, how she avoided my eyes like they held the answers to questions I was too afraid to ask. But that night felt different. There was a heaviness in the air, an itch in the back of my mind I couldn't ignore. I tried to distract myself, watched television, scrolled through my phone, but the silence in the apartment was louder than any noise. Something wasn't right. I told myself not to snoop. Trust is the foundation of any relationship, right? But trust had already left the room long before I picked up her phone. She'd left it on the kitchen counter, face down, as if hiding something. My heart raced as I picked it up, hands trembling, stomach twisted in knots. It was unlocked. Maybe she didn't care if I saw her. Maybe she thought I never would. The first message hit me like a punch to the chest. "I miss you already. Last night was amazing." My breath caught. My fingers scrolled, but it felt like someone else was holding the phone, someone detached from the life unraveling in front of them. Photos, flirty texts. Plans for the weekends, she told me she was visiting her sister, working late, or too tired to go out. I felt the room spin, my chest tightening with every word, every detail of the life she had carefully hidden from me. But the worst part wasn't the betrayal, it was the realization that she had been living this double life while I was busy planning our future. believing in us. I didn't confront her. I didn't yell or demand answers. What was the point? No explanation could undo what I'd seen. I quietly put the phone down, walked to our bedroom, and packed a small bag. Just the essentials. No photos, no keepsakes. I left my wedding ring on the nightstand, right next to the phone that had betrayed me. She came home hours later, probably expecting to find me asleep. But I was already gone. No note, no goodbye, just an empty space where I used to be. And in that silence, I left her with something louder than any words I could have said my absence. Walking away was easy. It was the silence afterward that nearly broke me. I moved to a small apartment in a city where no one knew me. A place without memories, without echoes of laughter that once filled the spaces we shared. The walls were bare, just like my heart stripped of everything familiar. I thought distance would heal me, that if I changed my surroundings, I could outrun the pain. But grief isn't something you can leave behind. It packs itself neatly into your mind, following you wherever you go. The first few weeks were a blur. I went through the motions: wake up, work, sleep, repeating the cycle like it was enough to erase her from my thoughts. But she was everywhere. In the songs on the radio, in the smell of coffee we used to drink together, in the shadow of every woman who passed me on the street. It wasn't her I missed, though. It was the life I thought we had. I kept expecting my phone to ring, expecting her to realize what she'd lost. But there was nothing. No calls, no texts, just emptiness, and that hurt more than I was willing to admit. Because for a long time I thought maybe, just maybe, I wasn't the only one hurting. But life has a way of moving on, even when you're stuck. I found new routines, new places, new people. Slowly, the weight on my chest began to lift. I discovered parts of myself I'd forgotten, hobbies I'd neglected, passions I'd set aside. I started to heal, not because I wanted to, but because staying broken wasn't an option. Meanwhile, she was living her new life, the one she chose when she betrayed me. But karma has perfect timing. The man she left me for? He left her. Maybe he got bored. Maybe he found someone else. Maybe he realized she wasn't worth fighting for. Whatever the reason, she experienced the very pain she once handed to me without a second thought. And that's when she reached out. A simple message: "Can we talk? I miss you." It wasn't an apology. It wasn't regret. It was loneliness. She didn't miss me. She missed the stability, the comfort, the version of herself that felt safe in my love. But I wasn't the same man she left behind. And she was about to find that out. It was a quiet Sunday afternoon when I heard the knock on my door. Not the hesitant, soft knock you'd expect from someone drowning in guilt. No, this was firm. Confident. Almost like she still believed she had a place in my life. I stood there for a second, staring at the door, knowing exactly who was on the other side. And when I opened it, there she was, the woman who shattered my world, standing in front of me with the same face but not the same power. She looked different. Not older, not worn by time, but hollow like life had drained something out of her. The sparkle in her eyes was gone, replaced by something I recognized immediately. Emptiness. It was the same emptiness she left me with, the one I'd carried like a shadow for months after she was gone. She gave me a weak smile, like we were old friends catching up after a long time. "Hey, can we talk?" she asked softly, her voice carrying more hesitation than her knock did. Without a word, I stepped aside and let her in, not because I owed her anything, but because I wanted to see what story she'd tell herself this time. She sat on the edge of the couch, fidgeting with her hands, like she was trying to hold herself together. "I've been thinking about you," she began, her voice trembling just enough to seem genuine. "I made a mistake. I thought I was happy, but I wasn't. Not really." I didn't say anything, just stood there, arms crossed, leaning against the wall, the same posture I had the night I realized I'd lost her, only this time, I wasn't the broken one. She kept talking, her words spilling out like rehearsed lines. She told me about how things didn't work out with him, the man she thought was better than me. She didn't call him her affair partner, of course. She used vague words like mistake and bad decisions, trying to soften the truth. But I knew exactly what happened. She left me because she thought the grass was greener. And when it turned out to be nothing but weeds, she remembered the comfort of the home she'd burned to the ground. Her voice cracked, and tears began to roll down her face. She got down on her knees, her hands clutching mine as if holding on to the life she'd thrown away. I miss you. I miss us. I miss what we had. Please, just give me another chance. I looked down at her, this woman who once held my heart in the palm of her hand, now kneeling, begging for the thing she discarded without a second thought. And you know what I felt? Nothing. No anger. No sadness. Just nothing. Because she wasn't here because she loved me. She was here because he didn't.